Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I began pruning up my larch forest at the KW Bonsai Society meeting, and I've got to continue pruning it up. I only got about maybe half to a third of the way around all the trees, so I'll be doing that today. I also have Manuela and her husband Rino coming down today with a ficus that I'll be styling, so it'll be a bit of a variety show today. On my larch forest, I did some major work removing the apex, and it's starting to heal over quite nicely. And my hope is that this branch, it's not my hope, it will go, it'll eventually go more vertical as it grows. That's what happens in larches, you know, horizontal branches tend to lift up and go vertical, especially if they're up at the apex here. I've had a tree where I just had a trunk and one 90-degree branch, and slowly over the years it went almost vertical, so you can't even tell it was a branch. Actually, I'll show you that. It was on a Scots pine. This is the Scots pine here. So it was a straight vertical trunk, and I had one branch 90 degrees here. I cut the top of the tree off, and then slowly over the years, this, which used to be the branch, is now raised and become a trunk line. So it's pretty amazing how things change over many years, how sharp bends become smooth and flowing over the years. So now you can't even really tell that it was this was a branch and this was the original trunk, other than there's a bit of a scar here. And that is because I had a stub there and I cleaned it up. So basically the original wound has totally disappeared. In spring, I could rotate the tree, so instead of, you know, the apex with the leader off to the one side, I could rotate the tree around so the apex is coming forward and looks more vertical. So that's a possibility. This spring I could dig this tree up, separate it, and rotate it just a little bit. At the last meeting of the KW Bonsai Society, Matt and I measured up a stand that would fit underneath these mica pots. I hope we got the size right. It was kind of our best estimate. I gave Matt some material to make the stand out of. It's red maple, and it's quite a figured maple, so it should look quite nice. So that'll be coming for this forest in the future. Will be a nice stand to go underneath the pot. You can see on the larch forest, I've got this tree pruned up, and at the back here you can see the third flush of growth coming out. So I'm going to prune that back. I've got about a month of the growing season left, so it's possible on these trees I may get another flush of growth, but it's kind of unlikely. And if I do, it'll probably just be sporadic. You know, some branches that are a little stronger than others. I don't think I'll get a solid third flush on these trees. I'm going to begin the pruning now. So basically, I'll just be pruning back all these long shoots back to the profile of the tree, getting them kind of compact in a conical shape to the overall silhouette of the tree. I've got the forest on my spinning tree bonsai turntable, so I can spin it around, work on all sides of the forest. So here I go, I'll begin the pruning. I'm also beginning to pluck out some of the downward facing needles and thinning some of the foliage pads, just so they're not one big massive foliage, so you can see a little bit of the individual branch structure. So some of the longer needles just get plucked away. Most of the longer needles are from the first flush of growth, so I'm kind of picking those away and keeping the needles from my second flush of growth, which are much more compact and smaller. When I'm pruning larch branches, I don't worry about the placement of the visible buds because they'll back bud from anywhere. I just kind of prune it back to the profile, and the branch will develop buds around that cut point. If the trees were weaker, I'd be more selective about pruning back to a visible bud, but these trees are really strong. They'll bud from everywhere. So I'm also trying to get space between all the trees, shortening all the branches back, which is important in a forest. Otherwise all the trees start shading out each other. Once all these trees lose their leaves in fall, I'll do a more detailed structural pruning, looking at every branch, because at the moment there's so much foliage that it's hard to see every branch and every bud. So when the trees are naked of all their needles, that's when you go in and do your really super detailed pruning. Manuela and Rino dropped off the trees. So this is the Schefflera that we worked on long ago, cutting it way back, and you can see how it's coming out into leaf now and looking really, really nice as a bonsai. It's got a lot of development to go, but this was a big first step from converting a house plant into a bonsai. They have a new ficus, a tiger bark ficus here, that we're going to work on today, or at least discuss a plan for it. And then here's the jade that we worked on last time, the big massive jade. It's been repotted and looking good. It's coming back nicely from that initial styling. They are off to see a play at the theater, so when they get back we'll be starting the work on these 3 trees. I'm back to work on the larch forest. It's turning out to be quite a blustery day today, so I'll continue working on the trees, getting them pruned back. I am doing some directional pruning when I'm pruning off the long shoots. If I'm pruning back to a visible bud, I'll pick one that's pointing in a good direction. But generally I'm just pruning back to wherever I want, and new buds will form. I have finished the pruning on my larch forest. I'm going to step back now and have a look at it and see if there's any other branches I need to adjust. Here is a look at the forest all pruned up. It looks much better, that's for sure. The branches are quite shaggy, which is kind of like a larch. Looks like a typical kind of larch you'd see. I would like to tighten the trees up to a more tighter conical shape. So I'll have to do that when the leaves have all fall off, or the needles have all come off, and I can do a real structural pruning on them. But that would be a goal, to get them a tighter conical shape for sure. But I think overall it looks a very pleasing, pleasant forest. It looks relaxing. I think the forest gives you that peaceful feeling because none of the trees look like they're experiencing any harsh forces of nature. They just look like they've been calmly growing for many, many years. I'll put the larch forest away, clean up the table, and get ready to work on the other trees. Here's the larch forest in the sunshine now. I think we'll start on the tiger bark ficus first. So I've had a good look at it, and I've got some theories of where to go with the styling. So I'm going to wait until Manuela and Rino come back from their play, and we'll start on that tree. In the meantime, I'll give you a few updates. Let's head into the greenhouse here. So Derek has brought me a Russian olive here, which is really nice. He grew that from a seed. And then he's got some mesquite trees here that are also from a seed, and they're growing really well. They've got little thorns on them. Beautiful leaves. Nice little trees. Bonsai Jade was over a couple of days ago, and he brought me some cashews. I killed all mine, and he managed to keep his alive, so I've got some cashews back. I have some wild pears planted in here, some wild crab apples planted in this pot. I don't have any crab apple trees, and I've always wanted some, so I thought I'd better try growing some from seed. Over here, I planted one of the little jades in Isabella's miniature pot down here, and I think it'll really suit this planting. I like the coloring. I think it matches the glaze of the pot nicely. I have it sitting on top of a slab of marble that also I think goes nicely with the tree. So it's kind of weak right now. It's been in the open air for a couple of weeks, so once that takes root, firms up and starts growing, I think it'll look really nice in this little pot. I've got pawpaws on the go. I have one pawpaw sprouting here. You can just see the white of it poking up through the soil. I planted a whole pot full of pawpaw seeds here. And where's my other one? Over here. Another pot full of pawpaw seeds. So I'm hoping for good things. I hope at least, a couple or a few sprout. That would be awesome. My $50 challenge tree is coming out into leaf nicely now. I think it's looking quite nice. It still needs a lot of filling in. It's kind of sparse up top still. But once this all grows nice and feathery, I think it'll look really good. I was out at the nursery the other day and looking at trees, and all the fall sales are on right now, and it's amazing what you can get below $50 now. They had some really nice junipers for, I think they were $25. You could get a nice pot the juniper up, and you'd have a fantastic bonsai. So I might redo the $50 challenge instead of doing it in spring when all the prices are high and the selection of trees is scarce. Maybe do it in fall, and I might get some good bargains. My banyan style Schefflera is starting to really pick up vigor now. You can see all the nice new green leaves on top. And underneath the canopy here, there's a lot of aerial roots forming. So hopefully I'll get more drop down to the ground. I've got it in this large pot, so out on these outer branches I can get aerial roots drop down, hit the soil, and kind of continue the spreading nature of these banyan trees so it spreads out even more horizontally. I think that would look really good. Over behind Ficus Fancy here, I've got my jackfruit. They are growing really well. I've got 5 of them growing in this pot. Beside it is my root over temple, Ficus benjamina. It's also doing really well. Needs a prune. Up on the top here, I've got my succulent shelf, and I'll show you my lithops. They're looking really nice. So there they are there. They're quite colorful and getting quite large. Yeah, really like those. I haven't done an update to my acacia trees yet. These are the ones I grew from seed. So they're down here on the floor of the greenhouse growing really well. So I'll wait until fall to prune those up before I bring them back in for the winter. But yeah, they've been growing really well this summer. Over here on top of the cube, my lemon tree is getting a new set of shoots coming in. You can see the red leaves of the new shoots. So that's exciting. This is the first time it's grown since I repotted it in this larger kind of shallow oval shaped pot. So my objective now is to grow the tree a little larger, grow the trunk larger. Yeah, gain some size with it so the leaves are more in scale with the tree. My Chinese privet here has grown like a weed. You can see how long all the shoots are on it now. It's doing really, really well. So that'll need a pruning soon too. In the polyhouse here, my large jade cutting that I got from Connor has finally started to show some activity after cutting these large branches off. I have a new shoot coming out here. And around the other side, where is it? There's a new shoot over here. So hopefully I'll get a few more. Time will tell. But at least I've got, a shoot off each of the branches that I pruned off. The other one over here is looking really good. It's got all kinds of branches from the cut points. So there's no problem with that one at all. My Franken ficus is enjoying the sunshine out here. the canopy's starting to fill in. It's starting to get a little tall. It's got a lot of new growth up top here that'll have to get pruned down, but the middle part of the canopy is starting to fill in now, so it's looking better. It still has a long way to go to fill in the center section, but I do have a lot of good new branches in that area that are going to come out here. So I'm really excited about that. My adenium forest here, my Socotra Island planting. The adeniums are starting to get their new leaves, so they're looking much better. I had one die over here like early after I planted this forest. So I had one adenium left over and I recently planted it there in the planting. So it doesn't have any leaves yet, but all the rest are starting to come out into leaf now. So I'm hoping there's enough summer left so they, gain some vigor before winter comes. My yucca trees here are continuing to grow. The shoots are extending. I've got a month before the fall bonsai shows, so I'm hoping it puts on enough growth that I can maybe show this forest. That would be kind of cool, something unique. I did buy a new tree, one of Connor's trees, and it's that twisty thuya. So there's a look at the trunk on it. It's quite a cool twisty tree. I want to do sort of a rattlesnake point style tree, and I think this is a good one to do that style with. So it's kind of short, squat. So I'm hoping to kind of grow it over top of a rock, have it reaching out over the edge of a cliff. I think that'd be pretty cool. So that's what I got this one for. My last update today is my asparagus fern. So it's straight ahead there, looking rather nice and full. So that'll need a pruning, and that can possibly go in a fall show too. I'm here with Rino and we're looking at the ficus, the tiger bark ficus. So we had to look at two possible fronts. This is the front of the tree, and this could also be the front of the tree. If you look in the side view, the trunk comes up vertically and then it kind of comes over this way and then back a bit. So if this were the front of the tree, this part that kind of goes away from you would probably have to be pruned shorter, and this part allowed to thicken up a bit. So the front of the canopy is kind of coming forward. If this were the front of the tree, the trunk kind of goes away from you a bit and then comes forward with the thicker part, which is fine. Both sides look good. The roots aren't as good in this view. And if we were to keep this rock, the rock sticks out, it juts out in this view, and it's like right in your face, and it's not very good. So I think this was the view that this was kind of styled in, with the lump of the rock towards the back. And I'm kind of leaning towards this view.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I think it's a nicer view. I think the root system looks better in that view, and I think the whole trunk structure looks better. So this rock, you see a lot of trees, ficus trees in Africa, and that grow against rocks and kind of grow around rocks. So the actual look of it isn't too bad, the rock from this view, but it's not the nicest rock in any other view. It sticks out. It looks like an egg shape coming out the back, and the actual color of the rock isn't bad. It has sort of medium texture on it. It's not a real detailed looking rock, but it's not the worst rock in the world either. It's quite nice, and the ground covering kind of really suits that dry African theme to it, even though this is sort of a Taiwanese ficus. But this coloring, it looks like, Australia or Africa or something with the red kind of soil.
Yeah. Well, this is the way I got it, with the soil and the pot.
Yeah.
I just took the wire off.
It looks nice. It looks nice. So overall in this tree, I would say that the height it's too high. That it should have kind of a rounded canopy up here. So I would probably prune this apex off to this branch that's coming out the front here. Prune that whole top off. You're starting to get that nice kind of round profile.
Did you make that the apex, or this the apex?
Let me have a look at it. I would probably make this little one the apex.
Up there? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you come back down here, like this could be, if you want to get brave later on, let this develop with the intent that this will become the apex someday, and this will all get pruned off.
Okay.
Like right off here. You could do that. You could let this develop. It is a nicer flow line to the trunk, this one here, but if you prune it off now, you've basically got nothing up top of the tree. It would look a little bare at the moment. So that's something you could keep in mind, is that, you know, you'll want to develop this more.
That one there, okay.
Because you can see from the front here how it kind of is the natural flow line of the trunk.
So you wouldn't want it to flow this way and then flow back with this one?
I think it goes too far in the back of the tree.
Okay.
I think your main trunk line needs to come forward.
Right.
So that's why I wouldn't use this unless, you know, this was the front of the tree. Then you've got the natural extension of the trunk line coming forward.
Okay.
So this, I was explaining this branch here, which started out as a branch, and then what happened is an aerial root dropped from the branch into the ground, and it really thickened up, and you can see everything past that aerial root is really thick and vigorous, and that's because this root is thickened up and it's feeding this side of the branch. The side that's being fed by the trunk isn't growing much, so it's skinnier, and this happens on ficus. You'll see these banyan trees with branches that reach out, they drop aerial roots, this part of the branch stays skinny, and then the part past the aerial root thickens up and almost becomes another tree itself. So if you were to get rid of this rock totally, I would recommend putting sphagnum moss under this branch and try and grow more aerial roots down in that void to kind of fill it in eventually. So you would have almost like a curtain of roots coming down here.
And they would come right off this side here.
Yeah,
okay.
Right off the branch.
Okay.
So the other possibility is we could try and find a better rock
okay.
that would fit in there better. I'm pretty sure I would have one that would fit. But you've got to decide if you like the rock or not. This rock's pretty heavy right now too. But,
maybe you need to go rock collecting.
yeah, I'll show you some rocks that might be suitable.
Okay. It's almost all you really need. You don't need that big thing in the back, do you?
No, yeah. I don't know. It might be something, you know, if you repot it, you can reposition this root to kind of fit the rock more. That's one possibility. That one actually fits it even better, I think.
Would you take off all that, the branches right in front of you there? Like all that, yeah.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want...
Most of it, right?
It's kind of pointing straight at you.
Yeah.
I would probably keep this one up coming off to the side.
Okay.
And maybe put it back to there.
Okay.
This one's kind of strange. It comes from the top and then bends and comes straight forward.
There's a lot of weird branches in this thing. That's why I wanted to show it to you. I thought you...
Yeah, I don't think... See, it's too bad this one died, but I don't think it's bad having this branch reach out, because you're going to have a canopy here and this one will be off here, so you don't want anything kind of growing underneath this canopy anyway. So you might even want to take both of those right off and just develop this, because these don't flow at all. This one sticks straight out towards the viewer, and this one comes from the top and it's bent over towards the viewer. So I think if that was gone, I don't think you miss them.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think you see
And that looks nice, the way
what's going on better, yeah. So yeah, I think, you know, if you want to keep a rock, this one looks like it fits the trunk really, really well. You can almost see it echo this shape almost exactly.
Yes.
And it's actually even pretty good back here.
Oh, it's even got that little...
It curves around.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a rock for it. You can keep that one. I
Perfect.
think that's the perfect rock for it. If you want to keep it. If you don't,
Yeah, I think that'd be perfect.
make it a lot lighter too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll like that rock. So I like the aerial roots coming down here. These ones I'm not that keen of. So it comes off of this one. So you want to keep it from the front view. It fills in this space there. So you don't want to kill the root off. So it kind of comes around and then does a dance.
I guess when I repot it, I can swing it the other way.
If you can, it's pretty tough to. I don't think it'll have a whole lot of flex to it. If you do cut it, what you can do is you can cut it off here, fill it up with bonsai soil, and it'll root into that soil.
Okay.
As long as you keep it moist and covered up. Because it's feeding a lot of the trunk up here, it won't die off as long as you keep it moist. And so I would do that because I think this is spoiling the look of the tree. They're nice old roots, but they're just like sticking up out of the ground, and it looks kind of, I don't know.
Off.
Yeah, you can see that it was growing in an oval-shaped pot at one time. And the roots kind of wrapped around the edge of the pot, and then it was potted up, and it's probably hasn't had a lot of root work done. Now, behind here you've got this branch comes out, and then you've got kind of a lot going on there. I'm not so sure about the one crossing back towards the
one
center
that-
of the trunk there.
That's being held down by the wire?
Yeah. I know the intent was to kind of surround the rock with foliage and branches and that, but I think with the new rock,
I don't think you need that branch.
No.
no, it's probably one that can come off, or you just keep it as a back branch or something so it doesn't cross the trunk, because you want to keep this negative space open here, I think. This branch, deadwood on a ficus doesn't last long. It turns almost to like balsa wood, and it just gets brittle and breaks off. So I would just sort of break it off, clean up your cut point, and